Welcome back to the TSV Sports Show. I am your host, Jasper Lindsay. Join with me, as always, is Armand Archignani, Alvin Chang, Steven Risotto, and Marco Milani. Got a good show for you guys today. A little Masters recap. Baseball's in full swing. The NBA playoff hunt is on. And let's just get into it right away. Marco, skating on thin ice. Let's hear it.
Let's do it. Yesterday was the NHL trade deadline, and it was kind of quiet because most of the trades actually happened on Sunday, the a day before the trade deadline. It started actually just in the morning with actually it started Saturday. Excuse me, because the move started Saturday. So it started with actually the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres making a trade for Brandon Montour in exchange for a third round pick. Then the Sharks traded him. They traded Devin Dubnyk to the Colorado Avalanche for a fifth and defenseman Greg Paterno. Then there were a couple other minor moves, except Jonas Sigenthaler was traded. Was one of the first big trades on Monday. Was traded to the New Jersey Devils for a conditional third. Then it was John Merrill going to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for Hayden Verbeek, a forward, and a fifth rounder. That was actually Sunday. Excuse me. Nick Foligno was then traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 2021 first and a 2022 fourth. Stefan Nason, the guy who was known for the Hakuna Matata goal song in 2019, was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs for fourth. Surprisingly, he was a waiver wire pickup, and he contributed on the fourth line, and he was doing great. But we got a fourth out of him, so that's pretty good by Doug Wilson. Then a couple of minor moves, but then the big move happened Sunday night. Taylor Hall, the big name or the big fish on that trade deadline board, was traded to the Boston Bruins along with forward Curtis Lazar for a 2021 second round pick and Anders Bjork. Then that evening, I believe it was actually about midnight Eastern, Jeff Carter was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins for a conditional 2022 third and a conditional 2023 fourth. So the West making some moves there. Then the Sharks made their first move of the trade deadline, acquiring Magnus Krona. What a great name. He is a prospect goalie from the University of Denver, from the Tampa Bay Lightning, traded to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a defenseman, Frederick Claesson, another, not a waiver wire pickup, but a move pre the season because of a lack of defenseman depth. We picked up Claesson, signed him to like a $950K deal, and we traded him for that goalie. Then the Sharks became a broker for the Matthias Janmark deal to the Vegas Golden Knights. It was Matthias Janmark to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for along with a 2022 fifth round pick in exchange for a 2021 second and a 2022 third. Along with that, the San Jose Sharks acquired a 2022 fourth round pick for brokering about $1 million in cap space, and also sent defenseman Nick DeSimone to the Vegas Golden Knights for that cap space. Then, and a couple of other big moves, Sam Bennett, forward for the Calgary Flames, was traded to the Florida Panthers in exchange for Emil Heineman and a 2022 second. Florida also got a 2022 sixth in the deal. Eric Gustafson traded from the Philadelphia Flyers to the Montreal Canadiens. Ben Hutton traded from the Ducks to the Maple Leafs. And then the Sharks made one final trade before, just as the deadline was ending. We acquired Antti Suomela in exchange for, we traded away Antti Suomela in exchange for forward Alexander Barabanov. Now, Alexander Barabanov has been off to a slow start in the National Hockey League. He was signed by the Toronto Maple Leafs from SKA St. Petersburg in the KHL. He put up about 20 points in 40 games in the KHL. Then was on a conditioning assignment with the Marlies, the AHL affiliate, had 2 goals, 2 assists, then only had 1 assist in his time with Toronto. He is currently assigned to the San Jose Barracuda. But then a couple big moves after the deadline. Winnipeg acquired defenseman Jordy Ben from the Vancouver Canucks. Oh, I'm sorry. Winnipeg acquired Jordy Ben from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 2021 6. And then the blockbuster move, just as the buzzer sounded on the deadline, forward Anthony Mantha of the Detroit Red Wings was traded to the Washington Capitals in exchange for Jakub Vrana, Richard Panik, a 2021 first, and a 2022 second. Now, Mantha is one of the best forwards on Detroit. He gets a chance to compete for a cup with Washington. So a big trade deadline this week, the past weekend. It started Saturday, continued into Monday. Now it's time for teams to push for the playoffs. But there was also some college hockey. The NCAA Frozen Four happened. It's been happening for a couple weeks now, and it just ended, I believe, a couple Sundays ago, with UMass winning the national championship. Of course, UMass was the former home of current Sharks forward John Leonard, the Hobie Baker Award finalist, and so UMass won it. I actually was picking Minnesota to win it, University of Minnesota, because they had a Sharks prospect on the roster, center Scott Reedy. He has since signed an entry-level contract with the Sharks, and is now currently playing in the AHL system. So congratulations to UMass. Congratulations to the Minutemen. And let's see how the rest of this NHL season goes. And that is skating on thin ice, and a very long one at that.
I think it ran the normal time, but always a pleasure to hear you talk some ice, Marco. All right, moving on. The Masters were this weekend. Hideki Matsuyama is your champion. And this Masters, to me, it was great for golf on an international level and great for the sport, as well as Japan. It's going to grow the game huge there. But I think overall, as a Masters tournament, I would have liked to seen a little more star power. I would have liked to see it be a little closer. Matsuyama came into the final round with a huge lead. And yeah, I think the biggest cloud hanging over the entire Masters was no Tiger. We really missed Tiger this time around. Marco, what were your takeaways from this year's bout at Augusta?
It was a pretty good Masters, if I'm honest. I kind of agree with you that there was not really big star power, because a lot of the stars actually struggled at Augusta. Guys like Dustin Johnson, who shockingly missed the cut Friday night. It was announced that he didn't make the cut. I believe he shot a 5 over when the cut was 3 over. But the big takeaway from me was Will Zalatoris. He's from San Francisco, by the way. Local kid Will Zalatoris finished outright second back to Matsuyama. And this was his first Masters. And boy, he put up a huge performance. There were a couple of times where I saw a lot of his shots, and he showed a lot of good touch around the greens. He had a lot of good shots. So congratulations to Will Zalatoris. But Jordan Spieth, another one of my picks, was struggling early on, but was able to recover for a respectable 7 under par. And other than that, just not much happened at this Masters that happened. Well, but because Zalatoris really drew my interest.
Yeah, I was hoping to see 2 of my favorite controversial players, Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau, show out a little bit. But Bryson, of course, had a classic Bryson meltdown. We saw a couple club poundings. We saw a couple missed drives. He just was in his head all day. And as for Patrick Reed, he started off hot, but couldn't keep it going. But overall, looking forward to next year at Augusta. Looking forward to golf continuing to grow as a sport. And it's the PGA Championships coming up. So we have a lot of fun golf ahead of us, and it's an exciting time for the sport. All right, moving on to the NBA. The playoffs are in the driver's seat. We got 4 teams in the East vying for spots right now. We got the Sixers ahead of the Nets, then the Bucks and the Hawks, which I don't know how the Hawks got in there, but they're quietly playing some great basketball right now. As for the West, we got the Jazz, Suns, Clippers, and Nuggets. With the Nuggets, huge loss yesterday, not only on the court, but their player as well, and Jamal Murray, whose knee just absolutely exploded if you watch the video. That was bad. And it's going to be interesting to see how they replace it, because obviously they have 3 other point guards on the roster in PJ Dozier, Campazzo, and Monte Morris. Alvin, how do you think this changes the Nuggets' potential to compete for a championship this year?
I think it's a huge change for Nuggets, because for Coach Malone, I mean, definitely like it's unexpected, as Murray become like a main player in the roster. He has a great chemistry with Nikola Jokic, but if there's no Murray, I think there's a big problem for Nuggets on offensively, especially his 3-pointers. He can drive inside and pass, and also he have a great court vision. So right now we know that Murray suffered ACL, so I think if the Nuggets ended to playoff, well, it would be a big problem. So I think Coach Malone have to figure out how to adjust the roster, and then to have a better roster for playoff.
Yeah, moving on to the Warriors. As of right now, they're in the play-in spot. What do you think about this team going forward, especially losing James Wiseman to another injury?
Well, as we know, James Wiseman suffered meniscus injury, and then, well, first, congratulations to Steph Curry pass over Wilt Chamberlain, become a Warriors all-time scorer. That's a huge achievement. And then without Klay Thompson this season, that's sad. And currently, the Warriors is ranked number 10 in Western Conference, but the Pelicans is number 11. They have to play a mini series before the official playoff. And then, from 7 to 10, we have Mavericks, we have Memphis, also we have San Antonio and the Warriors. But if you ask me, can Warriors enter to a playoff? I would say no. My reason is, when you look at their defensive efficiency, I'm going to give you guys some stats. So the Warriors defense efficiency in this season is ranked number 20. Give me a second. Oh no, the Warriors the team rebound efficiency is ranked 29 in the season, which is 47.3. However, for Pelicans, they're number 1 in the rebound efficiency, which is 53.5. So as we watch basketball, we know that if you have a rebound, then you can have a great defense. But if you don't have rebound, that's kind of a danger for the team. So besides Steph Curry, we all know that Steph is is a great shooter, and he can give an average at least like 5 or 6 3-pointer in a game. But beside Curry, the team 3-point percentage in this season is 35.3. No, it's 36.8, ranked number 13. Curry's 3-pointer is 41%. Damian Lee 39, not bad. But when you look at Oubre is 31%, and Wiggins good, 38%. But think about it: if every team try to double team Curry, and then you leave a lot of wide open to Oubre, can Oubre make the shot? Can Wiggins make the shot? That's a problem, since we don't have Wiseman in the paint, and then we only have Kevon Looney or even Draymond Green try to help to get a rebound in the paint. I think that's kind of weak for the Warriors. And then in the next 19 to 20 games, they have to face the Pelicans 3 times. As we know, Van Williams, like he's incredible, and also Brandon Ingram. They also have Lonzo Ball. Like these 3 guys in the matter on offensively or defensively, they are remarkable. They are wonderful. So I think it's overall it's very competitive in this mini series in the next few weeks, and if the Warriors can enter to a playoff, well, they have to figure it out on their defensive end, and from the offensive end, I think besides Curry, I hope Oubre and Wiggins, even Damian Lee, their 3-pointer can be more stable. Then the Warriors can move to the next round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's just been the plague for the Warriors all season, is not having that second shooter. I mean, Curry had most of their points in the first half, and you just can't count on him to do that every night, especially when he's a guy you're trying to load manage. You're trying to make sure he stays healthy for the longevity of his career. But speaking of another team that's in huge playoff contention, the Nets, they are 9-10 without James Harden on the floor. And this whose ball is it question is still popping up. Kevin Durant's in the news. Kyrie, I don't even know where he's at sometimes with taking these personal days. Armand, can the Nets get it done?
Yeah, I think they can get it done. I think the regular season is a joke to them, to be honest. They're still a half game back from the first seed, but yeah, without Harden being 9-10, that was still without Durant as well, and Kyrie took a couple games off. So yeah, being 9-10 is difficult. But what really caught my eye was when Durant returned. He was a couple games in, and then playing the Lakers, that was a horrendous game from them. The Lakers flat out destroyed them. I think Kyrie getting ejected was a little bit of a downplay on what it was. Supposedly, it was just a big argument, and I think the refs need to like get a little grip of what's going on. I think the game has gone soft, to be honest, and I think the game needs to be, it's competitive. Two teams that are obviously going in for a ring and on national television. These guys are competitive, and I think the refs need to give out a little bit of more leniency towards these games. But yeah, I think the Nets can get it done when all these guys are healthy going into the playoffs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And you'll see, like, the newer refs, they understand the game a little better, but the refs who have been around, the veterans, they'll let it get a little chippy, and that's what I like. And I really hope this time around in the playoffs they let the guys play a little bit. We saw a little bit of that in March Madness, and it made it a lot more fun to watch instead of just everyone fouling down the stretch and everything going to replay. I mean, honestly, like, the final 5 minutes of NBA games is starting to become nearly impossible to watch just because everything is looked at under a microscope. But hopefully they can get that figured out come playoff time. I mean, obviously the league is changing at a pace that they've never seen before. And yeah, I think for me personally, though, the most annoying thing is those fouls where you get the guy to jump and you just jump into him. Like, what is that? I don't know. All right, moving on to baseball, getting the Seam Head Express rolling. The Reds are red hot. They cannot stop hitting. Their pitching is exceeding expectations. Steve, what is it about this team that makes them so scrappy yet just good?
I don't know. I don't know how much a lot of it has to do with the ballpark they play in. And I know that's selling them short, but no, you're right. They are hitting, and out of the gates, they have one of the better offenses in the game. I think they have the best offense according to OPS in the game, ahead of the Dodgers, ahead of the Astros, ahead of the Twins, these great hitting teams. And this is a team that could surprise some people. I know you mentioned it. I know you're pretty high on the Reds, Jasper, because there's no sole winner in this National League Central. We've said this for a while. We don't know if it's going to be the Cubs. It sure doesn't look like it right now. We don't know if it's going to be the Cardinals. We don't know if it's going to be the Brewers. Frankly, Milwaukee has the arms to get it done. I think the concern with them is if they're going to hit, and if you need Christian Yelich to hit, because their pitching staff is fine with Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff and Josh Hader and Devin Williams in the bullpen. But honestly, the Reds could take advantage. They have some random arms that could get it done. Wade Miley, we saw him pitch against the Giants last night. He could be a guy that could shut down for 5 innings. And then you go to their bullpen. And then, of course, Luis Castillo, I think he's going to, kind of get his head right. But there's been so many teams here that have been surprising to me. I think one of them also has been the Minnesota Twins. I think we kind of wrote them off when we saw the White Sox get a lot better, but I think the Twins are still. You still got to go through them in the Central, and I still think that their playoff spot is not gone. And if you look at the pitching side of things, San Diego's rotation and pitching staff has been as advertised. They're really good. They have the best pitching staff right now. In baseball, they're the first and only pitching staff right now to get to 100 innings. They have a 1.80 earned run average. Minnesota's pitching. The Giants have a 2.73 ERA. I don't remember the last time we saw that. Maybe 10 years. I don't know. But yeah, it is still early. And, just real quick before we move on, I wrote down a few players that have impressed me too, because I think players, there's so many guys right now that are hitting really well. First of all, JD Martinez just won Player of the Week honors, and I know Marco is going to speak on the Red Sox. JD is so amazing right now. First in extra base hits, first in runs created, first in RBIs, first in homers, first in doubles, first in total bases, second in OPS, third in runs, first in hits, third in average, second in WAR. That's JD Martinez right now. He's back. He's hitting the ball line to line like he normally does, his vintage self. And the second best player in the American League right now is a guy that we've been waiting on for some time to be healthy, Byron Buxton. This guy right now, if the season ended today, arguably is the American League MVP. And this guy, same thing as JD. He's right up there. Him and JD are 1 and 2 in the American League offensive leaderboards right now. First in at-bats per home run. He's hitting a home run every 5.4 at-bats. Second in runs created. Second in extra base hits. Tied with JD with home runs. Second in OPS, or on-base percentage. Second in average. First in OPS. This is the one that gets me. First in defensive WAR. First in offensive WAR. Best overall player in the American League right now, Byron Buxton. Also, shout out Joe Musgrove, threw a no-hitter, the first one in Padres history in their 51 years. That's huge. He hasn't given up a run in 2 starts. So shout out to the kid from San Diego. Tyler Glasnow is disgusting in the American League.
Friend of the program.
Friend of RizzoCast, of course. Yeah. 29 strikeouts in just 19 and 2/3 innings pitched. He let Kevin Cash let him go into the 8th inning in his last start. He's basically unhittable. Jacob deGrom's always unhittable. Mets just never have the bullpen to bail him out. He's got a loss, but he's thrown 2 magical games already. He's got an ERA plus of 6.04, which, I mean, again, 2 games in, but that's amazing. And then, of course, I think Ronald Acuna is the most talented player in baseball right now. Just got all the tools, got all the swag. He's hitting 447. He's got a 292 OPS plus, 4 homers. If he's not hitting 2 home runs one night, he's scoring on his sacrifice fly to the second baseman the next night. Just everything to like about this kid. Shohei Ohtani is finally breaking out, hitting 333 on one side of the ball. And then, on the other side of the ball, he's got a, 1.93 ERA in a start. So he could finally be that two-way guy that we've been hoping for. So just so many magical performances so far this first half, or this first few games, this first week.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Ronald Acuna is just electric, man. Every time I watch him play, I want to run through a brick wall. When he hits a home run, he looks over to the bench. He lets the boys know. And that Braves team is going to be fun to watch all year long. Great young core. And the way they've structured the contracts of Albies and Acuna, they're going to be able to remain with that core for a while and stay competitive.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Another player I want to talk about is Akil Badu. Still red hot with the Tigers. The ball flies off his bat. We saw the Tigers, AJ Hinch, get a little revenge on the Astros after they fired him. I mean, we're not a pro AJ Hinch podcast, but we do have to shout out the job he's doing in Detroit because they are starting to turn that corner. But it's another team I want to talk about, the Angels. The Angels are off to a hot start and quietly first in the West. I mean, their pitching starting to get it together. And it's so great just to have the opportunity for Mike Trout to play playoff baseball again. That is going to be so fun to watch going down the stretch. But one player I do want to discuss with you, Steve, just because he's been struggling and it's kind of mind-blowing. Chris Paddock. What has happened to this guy? He was supposed to be the future of the Padres rotation his rookie year because he came out and he was just dealing. He had the mullet. He had the stirrups. Everyone was like, oh, man, this kid is electric. He's the future. Struggled last year, and it's carrying over into this year. What are we seeing out of Chris Paddock, and what are we not seeing out of Chris Paddock?
Chris Paddock is a guy that, San Diego must have known something was up. That's why they got all the big, dogs on that staff. But he came up and he was a guy that had a really, really nice changeup, didn't walk a whole lot of people in the minor leagues. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think he didn't walk anybody. And that's carried over to the big leagues for the most part, except this year. He's got a 4.5 walks per nine, and he's not striking anybody out like he used to in years prior. And that's, I guess if you're on the mound these days, you're expected to strike people out. And Paddock just hasn't gotten it done. He's averaged 4 innings in 2 of his starts so far. It's not been a nice go around for him. I think that if he does get it together, he could be a really, really dangerous guy you run into in like a 3 or 4 game series. Expecting to get a break away from Musgrove and away from Snell and Darvish, and then all of a sudden Chris Paddock sitting there. Yeah, that would be pretty scary. So he's a guy with still a bright future. I don't know, maybe a change of scenery, get him some more, I don't know. Because, if they were to skip starts because of an off day, unfortunately, Paddock would be the guy they'd skip.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, we promised it. Marco, talk your Sox, man.
Oh, I got so happy. You probably saw the grin as wide as anything when y'all were talking about JD Martinez. I love it. But last week, I was talking about Rafa Devers and how he needs to step up. I spoke it into existence. Let me give you the stats for his last 7 games. In 26 at-bats, he had 6 runs, 8 hits, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 4 walks, and only 8 strikeouts. That's a 308 average. That is second on the entire team in batting. Oh, excuse me. He is 4th on the entire team in batting average. Second is Christian Vasquez. 3rd is Xander Bogaerts. Kike Hernandez doing quietly well at 237. Verdugo doing well at 212. And Bobby Dahlbeck is off to a slow start.
Wait, Marco, I'm gonna start. Do you say doing well at 212?
Yes.
They're drawing walks. They're getting on base.
Okay, yeah. There we go.
I'm saying he's doing well, but he's not doing well great.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle for that. But obviously, I say that because obviously I do miss Jackie Bradley Jr. covering. I always like to say Jackie Bradley Jr. covered center fielder like it was a wide receiver for the New England Patriots, which is appropriate. But yeah, I still miss him, miss his bat and miss his defense. But Verdugo's still doing a great job. Anyway, but in terms of our pitching, it's Nathan Eovaldi is doing a lot better. 1.46 ERA over this past season. In the last 7, he is 1-1 with that 1.46, with 12.1 innings pitched. So pitching's off to a slow start, but I think we can recover. I think once Chris Sale does come back, I think our rotation will be even better. And we're going to be, I would say we can make a good push to get that AL East.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the AL East is kind of for grabs right now. If the Yankees can't figure out their pitching, then they're going to have a really up and down year. Aaron Judge obviously already hurt again. But yeah, the Sox are exciting. I don't know how Chris Sale is going to come back after yet another Tommy John surgery. I mean, his throwing form is just another injury waiting to happen, but obviously when he's on, he's on. So we'll see how that pans out. Steve, what are you seeing out of the Red Sox?
Their lineup is not a walk in the park. And I think that's one thing that people, you could score runs against them, but you don't just go in and see Xander Bogaerts at the top and say, I could get this guy out. This is an easy, fastballs. No, this is a dangerous lineup. They have some, but they have Bobby Dahlbeck sitting in the number 8 hole. That's scary. I mean, they have some offense. I think the American League East has some offense. Nobody's going to be worrying about the Yankees putting up runs. Nobody's worried about the Blue Jays putting up runs, but they have to pitch. They have to pitch if they want to compete with teams like the White Sox, and even the Twins for that matter. And the American League has a little bit of a shortage on pitching. That's kind of the reason why. But honestly, the Red Sox, I think people picture them as like this rebuilding team, but they could pick up some wins with their offense for sure.
Yeah, I definitely underestimated them starting this year. But yeah, moving from the diamond to the gridiron, Justin Fields has another pro day this week. Kyle Shanahan will be there, and Armand, this is your time to shine, buddy. Mac Jones or Justin Fields, who are you taking with that third pick?
As of right now, if I were the GM, I would take Fields. I like Fields, but I'm not the offensive coordinator. I'm not the GM, but if they really go for that number 3 pick and go for Mac Jones, I think they're doing the right thing depending on what they want. But either if Fields or Jones, I think either way Shanahan will make them good, even better than what they were in college. But yeah, I like either or with this pick.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me, it's just Fields' mobility. I mean, the arm strength is there. I honestly, I still don't get why he's slipping down draft boards. I mean, everyone wants to talk about his national championship performance, but he was playing with one hip. Like, he got absolutely shocked in that game against Clemson, and he still was able to come in and play adequately. I mean, he's playing against the best team in college football. So as of now, I'd rather have Justin Fields, and I don't think he's going to keep slipping. But another scenario I kind of want to toss out there is maybe taking Kyle Pitts with that number 3 pick, and then I know Marco likes that, and then looking to grab Kellen Mond, because with Kellen Mond, I think he can have a successful NFL career if you get him in the right system. And obviously, Kyle Shanahan's system, it is a player's system. Like, you can see, he can just plug and chug with these guys. I mean, every other game last year when he was having players hurt, you'd hear a new name each week, and everyone, like, especially in fantasy sports, it was like, oh, is this guy going to be the mainstay? But no, it's just because Kyle Shanahan can plug these guys into a system and it can work. Other news, though, the NFC West did get better. James Conner to the Cardinals. And Marco, what kind of difference do you think a change of scenery out of Pittsburgh will do a good job for James Conner?
Oh yeah, we saw. I hope this is you say the change of scenery, and automatically I thought of Kenyon Drake when he first came to the Cardinals. That change of scenery from Miami to Arizona he just took off when he was with the Cardinals. I think he had one of his best rushing seasons in his career when he was with the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously going to a new system from Pittsburgh, it is going to be a little bit of a stepping, or a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for?
Stepping stone?
Yeah, adjustment or stepping stone. It is going to be a bit of an adjustment, but as good as the NFC West running backs are, I think he will be up there in the top.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what your guys' opinion on Cliff Kingsbury is, but is he on the hot seat this year if the Cardinals can't get it done? Armand, I saw you make a face. Break it down for me.
Yeah, we'll tune into the 60-second rants later, but I think he's on the hot seat this year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that Cardinals team is so confusing to me, man, because at times they look like they're ready to compete, and then other times they just look completely lost. But their offense, it is going to be scary next year. D-Hop, Christian Kirk, James Conner, and of course Kyler Murray is just going to run all over you if you give him the chance. And even with the improvements on the defense, like the Cardinals, the NFC West, it's the best division in football. We got to be real. I mean, just besides Jimmy G, the quarterback rooms are scary. I mean, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and I think Matthew Stafford, he might return to that MVP form. I mean, I love Sean McVay as a coach. I think he's one of the best in football, and it's going to be so fun to watch that division play out. In other news, though, taking a step back, Desean Watson, his situation keeps getting worse, and I don't get it. And I mean, I'm going to say this. Professional athletes make money off their body. So why? I mean, and you see the best quarterbacks in the league. Tom Brady only lets a handful of people around him and care for his body. So Desean Watson having so many massage therapists, it's bad. After watching Dolis's testimony, I think he did it. And it's going to be crazy to see a franchise quarterback who had his future ahead of him be this person we didn't think he was. I mean, you see Desean doing all these charitable events, but clearly we don't know who he truly was. and it's very unfortunate to see him go down that path. And I'm so sorry for all the victims who were affected by it. Armand, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this situation's really turning bad for Deshaun Watson. I think you can't put yourself out there like that. It's a disgusting act. I think Deshaun Watson really needs to check himself and get to where he needs to be. But as of right now, it's not looking good for him. And there's no reason to do anything like this. I think this many people coming out and saying this is what happened, I think it's really bad for him, and it's not a good look. It's not a good act, and I think it's really looking bad for him.
Yeah, obviously we don't want to make any bold statements yet. We have to let the legal system pay out. But if Deshaun, it's a bad situation. Of course, we feel for the victims. This is horrible. And yeah, he's ruined some lives. And I think it's time for the NFL to act. I think the fact that the NFL hasn't suspended him yet, neither of the Texans put him on leave. It's just a horrible look for both the league and the franchise. And it's time for Deshaun to go and get some help, because clearly he needs to be rehabilitated. And it's just, yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. All right, moving on to some brighter subjects. Marco's mock of the week. Let's hear it.
All right. On to a lighter note, the Patriots also need a QB. Cam Newton might be the answer, but we never know. He could re-injure something, and Jarrett Stidham he could be good, but I honestly don't think he'll make it at a training camp. I think he might be his time in New England's over. I think he can be picked up somewhere else and become a good backup or a good starter somewhere else. Anyway, so let's say the Niners do select Justin Fields or Trey Lance or not Mac Jones, because that's who the Patriots would get. They would actually trade up to number 10. My mock of the week: Patriots trade up to number 10 with the Dallas Cowboys to select Mac Jones. They get their quarterback of the future. And at 15, the Cowboys get Patrick Surtain. I know Jerry Jones said he was infatuated with Kyle Pitts, but I honestly don't think I'm saying he's either going to go 3, 4, or even 6 to the Eagles. So to sum up again, Patriots trade for pick 10. They get Mac Jones. They get their quarterback of the future. Cowboys get Surtain.
Yeah, and I think my biggest thing with this is, and I'm going to ask this to you, Marco, if the Patriots mess up this quarterback pick, how far do you think it sets them back as a franchise? Because obviously Cam Newton, he's not a long-term fix, and they do need to address that position.
This doesn't set him back as far as you would think. Mac Jones, yes, he's a great quarterback, and it doesn't set him back as far because you still have Cam Newton. You still have other trade options in the league that you can get. The Panthers just acquired Sam Darnold. They could easily trade for Teddy Bridgewater. The Bears may not be happy with their current system. So they who I forget who would be battling with Dalton. Oh yeah, it would be Nick Foles. They could easily trade for Nick Foles if Foles doesn't win the job over Andy Dalton in Chicago. So it doesn't set him back, but with an asterisk that if this doesn't work out, they need to find somebody better quick, or else they're probably going to be selecting first overall in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. Armand, what do you think the Patriots can do? Where do you see them trading in the draft?
Yeah, if they're gonna trade up, I think that number 10, number 11 spot is where I would max them out. I don't think they'll go over that. I don't think they'll go to 9 or lower than that. But I think Bill Belichick, we've seen what he's done. I mean, this guy just finds gems everywhere. I think him re-signing Cam Newton, I think that was a good signing because Cam Newton didn't have OTAs. He didn't have an off season. It was all virtual. He got COVID, and then after that, it seemed to fall down for him. I think the first couple of weeks he played pretty well, actually. So I think giving him another 1-year deal, I think that's a really good signing. I think them going out and getting weapons for him was amazing. Kendrick Bourne, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. I think the likes of those guys will really help Cam Newton's upside. There's a lot of upside with Cam Newton. I don't think you're getting something bad with him. I think 1-year deal is perfect for him. So if they do trade up, it's probably going to be number 10 spot at number 11. I think if you're going to get Mac Jones, you'll get him around there. And if Cam Newton doesn't work out, you have a rookie quarterback setting in for next year.
Absolutely. And that's a great note to end on for Marco's mock of the week. All right, moving on to 60-second rants. Who would like to go first? All right, we're going with Steve.
Oh, no, okay. All right, let's do it. All right, so we're going to cover more of this as it goes on, but Skyline Baseball opened their season, and we're working on something about that. But Skyline Baseball opened their season on Saturday, April 10th, with a doubleheader against Monterey Peninsula. The first game was a 12 p.m. game, and they lost 6-0 against Monterey Peninsula. Hit from Trey Zahersky, the second baseman, Tyler White, the right fielder, Carlos Solis Jr., the third baseman, Jake Pashby, the catcher, and Randy Aberett, the DH. Aberett had the double. And a pitching performance from Adrian Gonzalez. He got the loss, 5 innings, 3 hits, 4 earned runs. How much time do I have? Okay, perfect. And then the second game of the doubleheader, Trey Zahersky, the shortstop in that game, had 2 hits, including a double. Tyler White, a single. Pat Norton, Calvin Louie, and then a great pitching performance from Gene Aberett out of relief, 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, relieving for Tony Zamagini, 2 innings, 4 earned runs for him. And that was Skyline Baseball's weekend.
It's pronounced Zamani, but yes.
Zamani, same, yeah. Sorry, Tony.
But yeah, no, Skyline Baseball, it is back. It is full. And looking forward to seeing how they can get it done this year. All right, Marco.
So obviously I was talking about the NHL trade deadline during my skating on thin ice, but there are a couple of players that they didn't trade that they should have traded. One of those is Patrick Marlow. He's 40-something years old. He's 3 games away from Gordie Howe's games played record, but honestly, he deserves a chance at a cup. He's been with the Sharks so long, and he's been so patient. Come on, they should have gotten at least some kind of deal done for him where he could go to a cup contender and at least have a chance on finally raising Lord Stanley before he retires. I don't know how long the Sharks window is going to last, but anyway, another player is Marcus Sorensen. Obviously, he's a good 4th line forward. He could have been a great asset. We could have probably gotten like a 5th or a 6th for him. And I think he's honestly better off with somebody else than with us. We could have probably put like Noah Gregor at the wing, somebody else to fill in that roster spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully we can get Marlow to a contender this offseason. All right, Alvin.
So as we know, today I want to talk about Miles Bridges' nasty dunk. I think he should attend the 2022 slam dunk contest. As we know, this season, Simmons got a champion, but I don't think it's a great slam dunk contest. For next season, I would like to see John Morant, Miles Bridges, and Zach Levine, and Aaron Gordon, and Derek Jones Jr. I think there will be an elite contest in the NBA history. Well, although we know Aaron Gordon said he will never, ever enter to the contest again, and I still want to see him. Also, the Miles Bridges, great athleticism. He can, he's incredible. But I still want to say, for me, the all-time, the best NBA slam dunk contest, the slam dunker, I will give the person is Vince Carter.
Absolutely. And hopefully we can get Anthony Edwards in there too, because he has been absolutely yamming it this year. Armand, keep it going.
All right. I'm going to be vicious today. Arizona Cardinal fans, you guys have been the least relevant team in the NFC West. Your head coach is on the hot seat this year. You brought him in. He coached Mahomes. That's nice. But you made a statement. You went out number 1, and you got Kyler Murray. Going 5-10-1 wasn't ideal the first year, but I think an 8-8 season was probably the best you've had in the past probably 7 years. So I think your head coach is on the block this year. Getting James Conner, that was nice of you guys to do. Getting JJ Watt and another offseason of Hopkins is going to be ideal for Kyler Murray, but you got to mess with the big boys now. Now you got to mess with the Niners, the Rams. The Seahawks are on their way down, but this year, your boy Kingsbury and the nice house he has, he is on the hot seat.
From the top rope,
Oh my God.
Armand.
Taking absolutely no prisoners. All right. I mean, I don't know how well I can follow that up because I'm talking about Major League Baseball's inability to let people watch games. Josh Bellett came out this week that while he was injured, he could not watch a single Nationals game. He could not follow his team at all due to local blackouts. And it's a problem that the MLB's had for a long time. And it's a problem that's showing up in growing the game. I mean, just not letting people you already have a problem with marketing. You already have a problem with viewership. And now you're making it so people can't watch games. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. Obviously, they have their MLB extra innings, but no one really pays for that. Grow the game, let people watch. Especially for locals who want to watch maybe Matt Vasgersian call their game or maybe watch Alex Rodriguez on their call. Like, it's getting ridiculous. You need to let the game grow. You need to just provide it to the audience. I mean, there's not much more I can say about this because it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of basic, and the MLB needs to figure it out. Steve and I are both very big haters of the MLB's marketing scheme, but that's all I got for today. All right, and that concludes 60-second rants and our show. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and we will see you next week on the TSV Sports Show.